It's a brand new year, and it's the first edition on a Friday on the program Journalist Hangout. I'm Citizen Jones Hussein. Today on the program, Buhari appeals to labor unions, tells them to allow him fix infrastructure after failing in court to halt siege to his house. Senator Melaye finally surrenders to the police, and later on, furore over inauguration of logistics collation center committees by INEC for 2011 elections. I'm hanging out with Janet, they say ladies first, Janet Mba Afolabi. I greet you. How do you do?
I'm great. Happy New Year. Good to see you here. I see you on radio. Now I see you on TV.
Here we go again. And we have here Asokwa James. When I heard you survived the year, I didn't believe you until now I'm seeing you. Welcome. How do you do?
I'm fine. How do you do too?
No less so, Cyril Abako. Cyril, I'm glad we both made it.
Sure we did, and I'm glad to be happy New Year, Nigerians. Happy New Year, Citizen Jones.
All right, then. The team is ready. I hope you are. Okay then, let's go. There is a lot of depth in the postulation that the human race is divided politically into those who want people to be controlled by other people and those who have no such desire. Of course, in an election year, almost anything is thrown into the ring. The no love-lost relationship between President Muhammadu Buhari and the organized labor came to a head on Thursday. The number one citizen has asked the unionists to allow him and his administration concentrate on efforts to fix critical infrastructure. Anything outside this, according to him, is a distraction. Labour has threatened to call a nationwide strike over the vexed minimum wage matter on Tuesday next week, right?
Yeah, they are still meeting. You know, the meeting, I think they just had a short break, and they should be back by 4:30. And we've been keeping tabs on the meeting. But be that as it may, the words by the president, holds a lot of water, strong water, if I will use that word. Because to the president, I think he said he has done well, and he wants to continue to do well. And the only way he can get to continue is for him to get the support of the NLC, because it would be very, very bad if the NLC goes on strike, particularly at this period. That election is almost like less than 43 days to the election, and and in so doing, with all the things that have been happening, most Nigerians still don't want to believe that things are moving, but the president and his team and the administration believe that they are setting a new foundation, that they want to lay a solid building, and that
so he needs all the constant
he needs everybody to believe in him, to make sure that the foundation is very strong for him to build that building. That is the Nigeria project. Now, and the NLC has been threatening. What they want is the minimum wage. And they don't just want the minimum, they want that minimum wage from the feelers that we got. They want the president, they don't want to negotiate anymore.
Yeah.
The time of negotiation is over. So what they want is action. And the only action is that the president should take that bill and transmit it to the National Assembly.
Janet, there are three sides to a story. That's what we are told. I was told this by my teacher at school. He says, in this case, the president's side and the union side, and there is the third side, the truth. There's a third side to this story. Where do you stand in all of this?
I think there are more than three sides to a story.
Okay, let's go.
There could be 20, they could be 30, depending on the manner of story that it is. And not two stories are the same, and not two stories can be the same, depending on who is handling and the angle you are looking at it from. I think that NLC is making a legitimate demand. If you look at the story of the demand for minimum wage since 1981, when the Minimum Wage Act came into being. Then it was just 125 naira. Naira, not 1,000. That was a period when dollar was 1-to-1 and pounds was 1-to-2.
Yeah, I was going to tell the viewer.
Yes, that's what I'm
125 naira was
at
very
that
strong.
time was very strong. A dollar was weaker than naira.
68 naira.
Was weaker than the naira.
68 naira to the dollar.
Dollar.
Yeah,
and pounds was 2 pounds to
one naira.
I mean 2 naira to 1
1
pound.
Yeah, that's
Pound had always been stronger. And then 10 years later, 1991, they increased it to 250 naira again. That was the time that dollar was also not stronger than the naira. And then another 10 years, year 2000, it came to 5,500. Minimum wage. 5,500. In that year 2000, a car, okay, 1992, a car was 23,000. 97, depending on the kind of car. So you could still afford to buy, you could still. And then another 10 years, 2011, it came to 18,000 naira, which we have now. In the year 2010, the Justice Alpha Belgore, his committee was set up, which he headed, and he recommended, among other things, that minimum wage should be revisited or reviewed at least once every 5 years. So if you want to look at the demand of NLC now, they are right. In fact, 5 years had passed. We are moving on to 10 years, and there is no review. So they are making a legitimate demand. The president is saying it's a distraction. I don't see it as a distraction. In fact, I see it as an option that must be considered for us to move forward. A lot of people, a lot of workers, they work in cities that they cannot afford to live in. Many work in Lagos, but they live in Ogun State. That's why Ogun State came up and said, please pay your tax. You live in Ogun, you have to pay your tax there. A lot of people teach in schools that they cannot afford to send their children there. They work in hospitals that they cannot afford to fall sick there because and they also work in restaurants they cannot afford to eat in. So I'm just giving you a scenario of the kind of things the workers are going through. This is not to say that in those years, progressively from 81, as you said, we stopped producing before 1991 because electricity became a problem. And so since we were not producing, the Naira was not competing anymore. But here we are, Cyril. The president says he does not need distractions at this time.
No, I think the people that message should be directed are the governors. Because 30,000 naira was agreed, if you remember. An agreement was reached. Was it in December or November? When Labour and they were threatening to go on strike, I think November 6 or so. And then, but they called off the strike just at the nick of time because a deal had been reached. And I recall that Labour categorically said that if there was a delay in transmitting the agreement that was reached between federal government and Labour to the National Assembly, they are going to go on this strike. It was much later, I think, the Governors Forum sent a delegation, I think, to the presidency, and then we began to hear discordant tunes. The president's approach or position about infrastructure is ideological, and it is only understandable. Because the fact that when you talk about infrastructure, critical infrastructure, electricity, roads, healthcare, and so on, I've always said that. I mean, I had a discussion with a major labor leader in Nigeria, I think last year, and I asked him this question. If infrastructure was in place, the demand for minimum wage elevation wouldn't be this much. And he agreed. He said, yes, it's true. Because going by the philosophy, we're looking at what should be the national minimum living standard for the Nigerian worker. And how can we enable him? How can we give him viability to live in that way? You see, because 30,000 naira is not even enough. If you pay 30,000 naira, or you pay 80,000 naira, even if you pay 50,000 naira, there is a fear, there's a caveat somewhere, that there is an amount of money you pay a worker, and you will not be dealing with the issue of corruption that is within his own ambit to control. So, I mean, the argument can be taken in different directions. But fundamentally, the federal government had agreed, I will say this in principle, had agreed to pay this amount. It is the governors who, I don't know, supposedly are blackmailing the government and saying, look, you've gone to reach the agreement, we're not going to pay it. 2 or 3 days ago, it was on major national headlines.
They gave a proviso. If we must pay 30, we'll shed weight, meaning we'll retrench and so on, which does not help them matter.
No, but, you know...
but it's still the same thing, you know, is the governors, they hold the ace.
If you talk about retrenchment, it is simple. We're in an economy. We're in a federal economy, or we're in an economy that's supposed to be built on... You see, and that's why the quest for restructuring and federalism, fiscal federalism, is not just a political issue. For me, fundamentally, it is an economic model. Who gets what? And who gets to spend what? Or who gets to work for what? And then who gets what? So our states are not viable, we all know. But can we be bold enough to
not because they don't want to be viable.
Certainly.
But because the central government is overburdened.
So, but can we now boldly take steps to say the states should become more accountable? Either we reduce what we give to them, or we direct how these monies we give them should be channelized. Should be channeled. So we say, for instance, this so-called security vote. How do we slash it?
Is it so-called?
Well, because it is so-called because
your governor would have gotten the one for December.
All the governors would have gotten. There are governors in the north, I think Jiga also, that are not owing.
Yeah.
But there are governors in the south and the southeast that are owing as much as 34 months. You are only setting the stage for criminality because you can't owe a worker for 34 months and you've already retrenched him.
Oh, yeah.
You've retrenched him. That's the implication.
Asoko, let's expand the logic. There's the counter argument that if governors reduce the number of aides they have, and none of those aides is paid the minimum wage,
No.
and they're not owed. Delta, I must say it for the umpteenth time, Delta has over 3,000, Delta governor has over 3,000 aides. That's what we are saying. It's a part of it. So when a governor says, we can't comfortably pay 30, maybe he knows what he is talking about.
I think it was like 2 or 3 days back that we were discussing this same issue. I keep saying it, that our governors, they have the capacity, you know, to pay this money, if only they reduce their aids.
And overhead.
Yes, and overhead. Because I think it was Moje that was here, was saying that if a governor is going out, he has to go with like 6, 7, what is it called? Security office, policemen, outriders, like cars, like 6, 7, you know, all trailing with ambulance
some
and so
governors
on.
Used to be 40.
You know, you understand. And all of them will be with their aides.
Including timekeepers.
SA will have his own SA, and SSA will have SA, just like that. So by the time, and all of them will be paid. Both the one that will be carrying the Oga's bag will also be there, and he will be paid at the end of the month. Now, if you shed weight, because most of these aids are just political aids, and the people doing the real jobs are the civil servants, and they are the ones crying out for just this 13,000, you know, just minimum wage, 13,000. And this is like level 18. These are the ones that if the governor wants to go to the office, if the office is dirty, it is that person that is collecting that 30,000 in quotes that will clean it. It is that same person that will sweep the governor's, you know, floor to you understand? So that is the minimum. And yet, the governors are finding it very difficult to pay this set of people. But they will find it very easy to pay those ones that will be traveling with them to all the places or anywhere they are going to.
So let me take the first caller here. The first caller is John. You are in Kaduna State. I greet you. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, all the guests in the studio there.
Yes, sir.
You make a lot of observation in this very particular program in respect of the comment of the president. If you guys observe very well, the president knew very well that he's not going to submit it, even when you're making that very promises during the period of the time of when he went to the Senate. But there's one thing the president is doing. He's trying to hide under the umbrella of the governor to give him excuses. Even though we know that the governors are giving excuses, let the president submit it. When you submit it, any governor that refuses to pay, the labor will hold on to that very state. But the president is logically saying that they are distracting him I think it's an insult to the labor, and it's an insult to Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Janet, you know, the debate is a recurring one.
Yes.
Are you saying the NLC, organized labor, has no choice but go on strike when anything happens? We should be a strike-weary country.
I think if after this meeting, which they are right now, if they come out with a deadlock, they can go on strike. If it comes to that, they can go on strike, because this is a time to get that minimum wage. If they don't get it now, after the elections, they will never get it.
It's good
because we have a history of promise and fail, broken promises, and a lot of politicians, they make promises they don't have the intention to keep. It's like somebody wants to go to collect food on credit. Maybe he's very hungry. He will go with a lot of promises. The moment he eats that food and is full, he will come out with stories. So this is a time. This is a time for them to get that minimum wage, and it is legitimate. It is their right, like I said, and it is not a distraction. It is a serious issue for the president to consider, because these are the workers that will still come out to vote, and the consequences for those who vote is tolerance. When there's bad governance, is tolerance. And also, I want to add that if you want to retrench workers, I don't have any problem with that. If you can justify the retrenchment, if they are going to be given the 56,000 naira, they should also justify the wages by their performance. They should carry out a performance chart, state by state, local government by local government, evaluate what you have done from so period to so period and why you need this increase. That is my own. Everything has to be done right. We have to do things rightly.
You know, Cyril, you know, we have this problem with so-called ghost workers. It's a part of the palaver, you know. The other time, it bears repeating here that the Kaduna State Governor visited a particular office, 14 drivers, only 7 vehicles, and he let 7 drivers go. You know, and you can replicate that across the country. So we need all hands, they say, must be on deck. So it is not just the central government, the state governments and local governments too. And at the local government level, you have more ghosts than real workers.
You see, citizen, the burden to make Nigeria work is a big burden. And I would expect, you see, there's a reason why governors come and go. And it, like the French would say, the more things change,
the more they remain
the same. There's a reason for it. You know, if both those who should be for and those who should be against are not finding common grounds, that phenomenon, that problem wouldn't persist. And so when you say ghost workers, on whom are you putting the blame? Some governors have stood up against it. The one in Kaduna, for instance, even Bayelsa, people told him, look, this thing, don't dare the workers. But he went after them, you know. And then what they say from ghost workers, I think, ran into billions. Anywhere you try it, you will find it. So the issue is, you see...
Sorry, which tells me it is possible to pay the minimum wage.
It is more than possible.
It's possible.
It is not. It begins with, in this digital age, let us have automated systems in the offices. Okay, that's one. Because there is hardly... citizen, you see, this issue is multifaceted. You go to many state secretariat, some of the workers are hawkers. They are selling merchandise.
You go to a particular desk where a lady is supposed to be sitting, you see Mongo Park's wife's bag there. The woman has traveled.
Of course,
and you are told, Madam, just come out. But let me take Patrick. He's in Lagos here. Patrick, I greet you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been talking about data state aid. Well, I'm concerned because that is my state. But you must know that those aides, they are his full soldiers. They are the people who elected, who made it possible for him to be elected. And another election is close. And those people you see there, you call his aides, they are the people working all over the world for his election. So you want them to throw them away? It's not possible like that. So sometimes you are there, you might not know what is going behind all these politicians. So when you hear of aides, these aides, they are doing what the civil servants are doing for the governor. But it's not possible for you to know about that. So that's all I want to say.
I'm not in a hurry to want to know that. It is not constitutional that the governor must have 1 million aides.
Yes, because he's a citizen. When we're in youth service, virtually all of our colleagues that were deployed to one ministry or the other had practically nothing to do. They said they went in the morning, they watched African Magic until evening, until afternoon, you know.
We are taking it home now, quickly.
And they came back. So the reason, when the civil service is not working as it should work, it rises and falls on leadership. What kind of leadership are we talking about? Political leadership. If you're a governor, if you're a council chairman, don't be traveling out of your state or out of your LGA and be living in a hotel, either in the capital of the state or overseas. Stay there and make the state work. Agriculture, you know, natural resources. There is a lot for you to do. Stay in your state and make things work.
You are rewriting the book.
No, but you have to rewrite the book because
You know, it's true now, because there are some state governors that in 365 days, they only stay in their state for only 1 month or 2 months.
Yeah.
And
So they don't even know
what's going on.
Their
They don't know
local
what is
government
going on.
chairman, I can tell you this.
That
10
one
times
too
a
is the
second.
same thing.
Their
Grasses are growing in the offices.
Local government chairman who return to the local government when bread
There's
don't
money,
come.
yeah.
Yeah,
Of course.
exactly.
Help us take it home. Janet, I'm sorry. You know, the president also admonished the youths. He said, let me quote him, there's a tendency for you, talking to the youths, to think that you can do better than anybody, but it's very good for you to know the facts that leadership entails so much. End quote.
I also noted it when I read that speech because that was what the party thought. That it was easy for them to say when we get there we'll do better than the past. Maybe when they got there now, he's now talking from experience,
Reality.
what they are facing and say it is easy for the youth to say we'll do better than these old men, you know. But when you get there and you see the reality on ground, that's when you begin to experience will come in, power play will come in, deep vested interests will come in. And then you realize that it's not as easy as you think. You know, it's like when you are not married, you say, when I get married, I'll name my children Peter, Paul, Peace, you know. You're just fantasizing until when you get inside, you begin to wonder.
I know you are speaking from experience. So we won't
Yeah,
go
just
there.
like the president speaking from experience.
All right, so that will just about do it. But we're saying for as long as the problem remains unsolved, minimum wage will haunt everybody. Now, still to come, after failing in court to hold siege to his house, Senator Dino Melaye finally surrenders to the police. You want to hear the details? Please stick around. All right, then, let's keep it going. Standing up for what you are convinced about is never a bad thing, only you must put your foot in the right place or you stand alone. Senator Dino Melaye's tiff with the police dates back to July 2018 when his convoy ran into the police anti-robbery and kidnapping patrol team. He reportedly refused to stop, whereupon an exchange of gunfire ensued, leaving a police sergeant injured. The lawmaker took to his Twitter account where he alleged an attempt on his life. The police insist the distinguished lawmaker twice scoffed at them, even as they refused to honor their invitation. His current travail started on December the 28th and is in its 8th day. But a man has finally surrendered to the police following the failure to get the court to remove them from his premises. You know, there's a proverb in my place. Paraphrased briefly, it says, if you cook for village, village go chop. When village cook for you, you have a problem. Am I making sense here? Sorry. The idea is not to rattle you.
Okay. No, I think it has.
A little rattling.
Yes, sir. Because it's good that Dino has finally surrendered, if I will use that word, you know, because for someone of his caliber, I didn't expect it was going to stay this long, you know, for somebody that is a lawmaker now trying to break the law. So many people have come out to say, oh, he would have, is against his fundamental human rights, you know, rights to freedom of movement and all that and all that. He would have avoided all this, you know. The period that the police actually wanted him to come and just, for the case involving that sergeant, he would have just gone there and the case would have been in court by now. Maybe they would have given him administrative bail based on who he is, you know, but he kept on dramatizing this whole matter. And now, as I heard, he's in the federal SAS, you know, they took him to SAS, you know. So we don't know his fate right now. But I want to believe that he will still get that bail. So then why did you now, you know, keep Nigerians waiting and allowing us to talk so much? People bring in, you know, the thing is, if you look at Citizen, if the police were actually wanted to do what they wanted to do, which is to use the Administrative of Criminal Justice Act. Okay. You know,
okay. If
to
they
get
employed
him,
it,
if they had employed it
in dealing with him, yeah,
people would have said, the presidency is this or that. But I think that is why the police actually became civil, to say they just want to mount that siege to his house. You know, because the easiest thing would have been, because the Supreme Court has already said, provided somebody has been, you know, is alleged to be a suspect in a criminal case, the police has every right to break into that person's house to bring that suspect. Is the law. But the police have been very civil. And that is where
they became restrained.
You know, restrained from trying to break into his house, you know, making sure that he will come out. But he kept dramatizing and releasing videos, trying to tell us that God is going to help him and quoting Bible for us, you know.
Yeah.
That is not, for me, I think it's just embarrassing.
Not a bad thing if you're a man of faith.
No, of course. I think it's embarrassing for a lawmaker to have gone all this while. Look at now, his family that would have celebrated with him during the New Year could not. And the police officers that we are supposed to have been at home celebrating with their family during the New Year, they didn't. You know, so right now he has surrendered. So what does this keep us or leave us with? It leaves us with a situation whereby most of our lawmakers don't even know the laws that they even make for us.
All right. Our correspondent, Siphon Essien in Abuja, has been following this story. I hear he has a little something to fill us in with. Siphon, are you there? Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
How are you?
I'm fine.
A Happy New Year.
Same to you.
So what can you tell us now?
Well, basically at the moment, after he was taken to the facility of the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad in the Guzape district, we got there, and afterwards he was taken to a hospital. We're trying to find exactly the hospital and the location. That's the situation. He appeared to have fainted and not so much in good health. That's his physical appearance, and that's why after he was taken to the police facility, he had to be taken to the hospital for medical attention.
Okay. So after from here, he still goes back to the police headquarters, or he's still a customer of the police, so to speak?
From what we gather, he might spend some time, well, depending on the outcome of the medical attention he receives at the hospital. Like as I mentioned earlier, we're not privy to the hospital, but eventually we'll get to find out which particular hospital he's been taken to, receive medical attention, and obviously police operatives would be on guard, you know, to ensure he's where they want him to be, and then from time to time he will be reporting at the Federal SARS office precisely before Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari.
Siphon, before we let you go, describe, if you are privy to it, how the anticlimax came. Was the house broken into?
Quite well, like you said, anticlimax. It was like the denouement of a big drama. He simply, at some point in time, just a little bit after 3 o'clock, just the whole place was swarming with police operatives. All of a sudden, lawmakers, accompanied by his lawyer, Ozekome, drove to the premises, his house, actually number 11, Zanga Street, and like a movie flick, we just saw the senator walk out of his home and to the gate. He walked into the arms of the police, as it were, and he was led into a vehicle, and they all sped off to initially to the first headquarters, but a detour to the federal SARS office. And but where we saw him eventually in good shots, he was not in good state of health. Okay. From what we could see, looking very weak and pale, as the case may be. Not the Dino we saw in clips and videos while the siege lasted. Okay.
Sifon, you may retire now, but then since you are still staying in the story, if there's any development, let us know. Thank you for your time. Janet, let's quickly look at Dino's ascendancy. He started from the House of Reps, was a member of the Integrity Group. Don't you remember?
Yes, I do.
And so we believe Dino was a bolt from the blue, from a different tangent. But to have today's Dino is a little...
Yeah, I'm surprised because before now he was saying no surrender and police were saying no retreat. So the battle line was drawn. This is no surrender, no retreat. The two people held their grounds. And then suddenly one collapsed. Not in the real sense of collapsing. Dino gave way. Yeah. He was saying it was wise for him to be in hiding because he alleged that the IG wanted to inject him with some form of injection. And that reminds me of the days of Abacha when we heard of Dr. Death and all manners of injection. So maybe it's true, maybe it's just an allegation. Nobody knows whether it's true or not. But what is important here is that Dino has surrendered. Why did he surrender? Is it a strategy? Is it a strategy for him to come out and then fake or act that he's not feeling fine? Now to the hospital, came out today, straight to the hospital, and from there maybe they just take him to court. From there he'll be granted bail. But he didn't have to resist that arrest because the police had the warrant of arrest, which is legitimate. And I kept asking that if it were not Dino, if it were an ordinary criminal, the police will break the rule. Yes. They have broken rules of armed robbers in Ibadan. They just come 4 a.m., break the roof and enter and pick the person. But now they didn't want to do that for reasons best known to them. And Dino didn't want to surrender for reasons best known to him. But the drama has changed now. It will keep evolving. It will keep unfolding. So let's wait and see what is going to unfold maybe by tomorrow because it's still new. And the Dino that we know is a man...
We knew or we now know?
Or we still will know.
Okay.
Because the drama is
See, there are folks who are following the unfolding drama. He must be a source of encouragement and what have you to some young folks somewhere. And how does the young guy watching the drama react to this?
For me, I think that there are a number of people who made it a national consciousness in their youth, but haven't given a good representation of whom Nigerian youth should be. That is instructive. And so sometimes when we say certain things, they say, but this is one of your examples. How about that? And we say, well, there is a sense in which some people, you see, because somebody like Dino, if I may say it this way, I think some persons, like William Shakespeare said, some have it thrown at them, some are born with it, some work hard for it, and so on. I think in Nigeria, some people are children of political expediency. And so sometimes the powers that be can look at a quality in a person and exploit and make a star out of him. So the day you stop serving those critical interests,
it's good night.
Exactly. It's good. There's a sense in which Dino seems to fall, because you see, if you are writing a novel, and you can write so many novels about Dino, you see character, he's a round character. In every republic, he takes up a new form.
A new form.
So it would appear that he has switched allegiances, perhaps. And then the fact that when she was pointing out to what the police could have done and didn't do, he also made reference to what the police could have done and didn't do, acts that are backed by law. It appears that, you see, Dino have to be gone after for a particular reason. But there's a level to which they may not need to stretch, explore the full powers of the law.
Yeah.
I put a big question mark on that. Because in a political drama, there is always more to the plot than meets the eye.
Okay.
So we are watching, but
and
if this...
the script writers are behind the scene.
No, of course. And they are those who look at each character and see how they can change you with the changing plots. Citizen, you see, particularly in an election time, the warrants and so on have been given since when? Since
Since last year.
That is one.
Yes,
Citizen.
last year.
Citizen.
Friday also.
That's one. There was the story of how Dino escaped from a van or something like that.
Yes,
Until today,
that was the attempted suicide.
until today, I couldn't put the story together.
If you were writing a script.
Number three.
Well, sorry, let me quickly take Yakub. So, Yakub, we have kept you waiting. Welcome. Good evening.
Citizen, good evening, sir.
Yes, sir.
And then good evening to the gentleman and the lady in the studio.
All right, then.
Citizen, I love your profile when you start this program. That if a villager cook for the whole village, all of them, they will finish that food. But if all the villagers gather together and cook for one person, he would never be able to finish touch. I love that.
Where you will start?
You see, citizen, I blame police here. Because they were the one making Dino as hero. Because when you claim that you have court order to get someone arrested, and then you get to that place, you spend almost 7 days or 8 days before the person has surrender himself. I didn't think it's me here in my domot or you in the studio that alleged, quote and unquote, a criminal offense. I can tell you, without not even securing court order, they will burst into your house and take you out of that place. But you see, in this country, I feel like there's some other people that claim that they're bigger than the law of the land, but which is not supposed to be. Now, he's supposed to face the law. Now that he's already surrendered, let's know who is who. Let them prove it that if he really commit what they allege him to do so.
Yeah.
But now, Dino is already surrendered. Let's know how it goes. Thank you, God bless you.
Yeah, but just brings me to another crazy proverb of my people. This side understands. They say if you enter bush, see then take a whole goat, set trap. You know go leave the bush.
Yeah.
All right. So, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You are wondering what kind of animal they want catch, you know. So the lessons should be enduring. You are a member of the Red Chamber, a senator of the Federal Republic, a lawmaker. You should be a leading light. Dino, I hope he forgives me this, has children, has brothers, relatives. They are all watching.
Exactly. And just like Cyril said, Dino is supposed to be like a light that other youths are supposed to, it's supposed to be like a path. Because I remember when he was an activist, before this, before he gained, got the ticket to go into the Red Chamber, he used to be very vocal, anti-corruption. He had this anti-corruption group that back then, and even in the House, in the Senate.
Integrity group, I can't forget
on his
it.
Twitter handle,
even
he's an investigator.
Even in the Red Chambers, I still respect him for being critical about the government because everybody cannot face one way.
Yeah.
You understand?
Sure.
And that is where I respect him. But when once it comes to issues as petty as this, it makes me feel so bad that even the youths that were thinking that they will take over from the old, from the bureaucratic, politicians that we have, it shows that we are not even ready to take over from them.
Yeah.
Because these are the people that are supposed to show us the light and say, okay, fine, the future is bright, and we are going to take it. But when once we are laid back and begin to break the law, when the law is glaring, then there's problem.
All right, let's rest the matter as I share this with you. In politics, you behave like the wild dogs. You run with the pack, because when you fall down and you are injured mortally, the rest will feed on you. I wish him well. You know, the 2019 elections are upon us, and with them, the peculiar trappings, suspicion, misgivings, and paranoia. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, may have provoked a cross-country rash of conversations over its appointments ahead of the 2019 polls. No sooner than Mrs. Aminat Zakari was announced as the chairperson of the Electoral Collation Committee than the main opposition, the PDP, kicked. The group doubts the neutrality of the electoral empire in the forthcoming elections. Not only do the diffident groups insist the appointment is an outright manipulation, the lady Aminat Zakari is said to be the president's niece. You've heard that?
Yes, I
have heard that too.
I don't know. I've not seen the woman's.
Me, I don't know. I don't.
Why
Jane is
I bet
No, I beg, please.
That is an allegation. They said she's the president's niece, and therefore she cannot be the chairman of the Coalition Center in a contest where where her uncle is a contestant. The uncle is the championship defender.
Defending champion.
Defending champion. You know, defending the championship. So you cannot be the chairman here. And besides that, this Amina, according to allegations, was the head of ICT in INEC. When there were, again, allegations that there were manipulation of the voters register, which now brought in fictitious names, which brought in underage names, and even alien voters, this Amina. And in the Osun election, her name came up again as playing a role in what they allege that there were some malpractice in the election. So these are the two instances where her name had been mentioned, and now the biggest one. And the INEC chairman yesterday, you know, there were two committees that were
set up the logistics.
Yes, the logistics and this one, collation, said the collation is purely an internal process, and that no outsider can do it. So this is the decision of the INEC chairman and maybe some of his members to put her there as a chairman. And he also said that the logistics, you know, in every general election, the general election of any nation always comes with the biggest and the most complex logistic operations, because, for instance, in Nigeria, we have about 2,000 locations that you have to go to. So in that case, and they'll be carrying sensitive and non-sensitive materials. And they'll bring them back. So for that, they brought in outsiders. They can't do it alone. They brought in road transport workers and all that. But this is the PDP are not after the logistics. They don't have problem with that. It is the collation. But my observation is that if you allow, I don't have problem with her being there, because the 73 political parties that are presenting candidates for the presidential election are going to have their agents at the collation center.
Exactly.
Unless maybe they are sleeping. That's when there may be something may go wrong. But if they keep their eyes open, when they're about to sleep, they put somebody else there. You know, because no human being can go on for 3-4 days without sleeping. He will collapse. So it just needs critical monitoring and observation. They have to be on their toes and monitor the woman very well. So that's my own observation about her appointment.
Yeah, but just like she said, she was not even employed by this government.
Yeah, you know. Mahmoud Yakubu inherited her.
Yes, exactly. You know, and if her tenure has expired, I believe Yakubu would have even sacked her or removed her or retired her. You know, it was even the last administration, which is Goodluck Jonathan, that employed her. And so far, apart from the one that Janet has mentioned, all the issues or allegations against, she has also monitored the election in Anambra, whereby both big parties didn't win. It was Abga that actually won the election.
Against the odds.
Against the odds. So people should not. People should not.
It's all right. Okay.
People should not also,
This
wish
is
that
just
away.
suspicion,
People should not wish that away. And when they say somebody is a collation, she's a chairperson of the collation center, it doesn't mean she's the one that will announce the results. Because the media, I've seen the social media, some people are saying she will be the one to announce it. She's not the one that will announce the result. And just like you are saying, every political party will have agents. As the results are coming from the different units, you are tabulating. They will all be tabulating. Even a clear case is this Oshun that happened. During when they were announcing the results, you could see their delegate, one of their delegates always coming up and saying, no, sir, there's in this unit that you just mentioned, there's one figure that was missing.
Yeah.
You must have agents, a coalition officer there that would challenge this result that is not. That is how it's done. You can't just go to election and say one woman, because the one woman is there, she will be the one to manipulate. Then you are not ready for this election. She is there because she has a job to do. Except you, everybody is now telling the president to remove her niece from that place. But if they remove her from there, it means we are going to reappoint another person, or they will move her to another person, whether you want them to move her to logistics. If they move her to logistics, people will still complain.
Cyril, the operative word in this particular story is the word suspicion. And it is the beginning of wisdom and madness. Now, the PDP is suspicious. How do you deal with it ahead of the election?
The suspicion, the agitation, the complaint, the protest of the PDP is not backed by law. Which means that I am not aware. I am not aware. I am not aware that there is any part of in our statute books where any governor, any president, any public institution is prohibited from appointing people who are. The story says that this is Buhari's elder sister's daughter. Okay?
The niece.
So the agitation is a moral one. And we can't take morality out of the equation, quite frankly. Because if it is not moral, it is legal. Even the legal is drawn from the moral. So now, I think where I have my divergence is that I don't agree that the burden of proof should be transferred from INEC to those who are going to start the collation centers. In Nigerian politics, a lot of things happen. And I'm thinking that, look, this man was appointed by Goodluck Jonathan, I think on President Buhari's advice before now, to represent the whole of the Northwest or something like that. And so when Buhari even came into office, he had appointed her as acting INEC chair.
Oh, yeah.
It was this same
For a while.
It was these same agitations that said, look, you can appoint your brethren into different institutions, but INEC is too sacred for, because the national mood and feeling will not augur so well.
Yeah.
I think that if it was avoidable, it should indeed be avoided. So that, you see, we can void the naysayers, we can void when the chips are down, nobody will say it was probably because of this or that and those. That's where I have my divergence. And you see, because the president is a moral leader, and because we understand that the 1999 Constitution is does not entirely democratize power, so to say. It still vests the powers and the instruments of power on the president. So the question is a moral question that falls directly on the president's desk. What we see now is that...
Otherwise, the chairman of the coalition center could have been somebody else.
It could have been someone else.
Yes,
One, because you see...
Exactly.
Citizen, so many things can happen. One, you're setting a precedent. If I became president tomorrow, and I say, my younger started history, let her come and be INEC, whatever. People will say, why? Say, look, I have precedents in the past. That's one, which will not be good. One. Number two is the fact that you see citizens at collation centers. I have worked as an INEC officer before. They came to me. They said,
who are these days?
Just hold on. They said, our candidate has lost the election. As members of Party X, as the candidate, but we are also on the payroll of his enemy. And we want to thumbprint. We want the margin to be wide. So please allow us give you this money so that the margin will be unassailable. I told them, leave my boot, otherwise I'm not having issues with you. So people can be compromised. That is the truth.
Yeah.
People can. So why should we? I mean, this is Nigeria in the 21st century. If it's avoided, why do we think that she could? If she was managing logistics, maybe the complaint wouldn't be so much. But collation is important. Joseph Stalin said one time. He said, "Those that vote
are not. They don't determine anything. Those who count determine everything."
And you see,
But this
even
woman-
in Kenya, sorry,
Yeah,
even
okay.
in Kenya, the challenge to Uhuru Kenyatta's victory was collation.
Collation is it.
It's always
Look, even if it went smoothly, somebody can raise hell over it and say, look at now on social media, people don't know what to believe and what to believe. When they say that she's the one that's going to announce, say, hey. But in the last election, Jega announced it was Jega that announced the result. It was not collation.
and it's Jakub that will announce.
Nobody knows who was at the collation center, but you see, because we're in an age of fake news and propaganda, the least we could do is to reduce the propensity and probability as much as possible. That's my own solution.
Typically Nigerian. Janet, but if you remove Amina Zakari, somebody else's relative will be there.
Yes, somebody else's relative will be there who may even be worse than Amina, but the world will not see that. They will believe the person is upright. If it's Amina, even if Amina is against her uncle, people will still think that she's in sympathy with the uncle. That is a problem there.
Very, very instructive that a woman is saying the last word. On the show.
Exactly.
So we give you the honor. Thank you,
so much.
Janet Mba Afolabi. Have a better year.
I wish you
See you after the elections.
No,
I'll see you before the elections.
And okay. Asuko James, many thanks for your time.
Thank you so
And of
much
course,
for having me.
Cyril Abaku.
My pleasure, anytime, citizen.
Also, so that's it, folks. The last edition for the week. We are back on Monday. Also watch the Hangout on other platforms showing on your screen and on youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. The feedback channel is the same. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Bye-bye now. Take care.